ICU, the one day it will die because of the inherent, maybe it is a handmade paper. If it is a handmade paper, the inherent chemistry will act with the weather, then also it will die. And if it is a machine-made paper, it is much more exposed to the weather condition, and it will die. So one day it will die. But our objective is to prolong the existence, to make this manuscript more sustainable. That is what the effort of conservation. So we have to understand one thing: we cannot make manuscripts survive forever. One point of time it will die, but our thing is that as much as possible we keep it for the next generation or the generation after generation. That is what the effort we have to take. So this thing. Now, when you talk about wood origin manuscript, why I brought this terminology, that wood origin manuscript? Because in the wood origin manuscript, all the manuscripts that is being originated from the plants basically having some components. It has to be some components. Like us, we have the muscle, then bone inside. In the wood origin also, in the plants also, the whole body is made of cellulose. The plant, we have this, this thing, muscle, and then plant has cellulose. And cellulose is the, bonding structure of the plant stem or the plant structure. If we talk about handmade paper, if we talk about machine-made paper, this cellulose basically, has been treated. So cellulose will be there, and cellulose is one of the component that itself has inherent chemistry in it, which actually ultimately make the manuscript die. So it makes the manuscript die because it is a cellulose. It will be some chemistry. In the cellulose we will be getting a lignin, thymine, and other sort of acids are there. Now these cannot be removed from the cellulose, because if we remove this from the cellulose, cellulose is not going to be structured one. It cannot remain structured. It will fall down. It will what is called melt down. Like muscles. If we do not have muscle, we have cell. If cells are being actually taken out, there is a lot of chemistry in the cell. If all the chemistry of the cell, human cell, are being taken out, then it will shrink. It will die. It will dissolve. So that is how the paper also will be having the cellulose. And the cellulose will give the structure of that particular this thing. That is why as cellulose has to be remain in the manuscript, so manuscripts are susceptible to the inherent chemistry. It is there. It is like that. So that is how it will die one day. Now, the thing is that when we go for the preservation, and this cellulose basically, I'll be coming to this one. Ready to ask anything? So again, as because the cellulose has to be there, the inherent chemistry of this cellulose component will one day kill the manuscript, reacting with the environmental factors. Now, to preserve this thing, either by traditional practices or by chemical process, we have to understand this structure, cellulose structure, how it reacts. Now, this cellulose are being, if it's a biological, there are is there if it is a cellulose and other biological component, then what will happen? These are basically the food. If we talk about biological factor of deterioration, what is biological factor? There may be three types of factors of deterioration. One factor is biological factor. Second factor is the physical factor, or environmental factor, physical or environmental. These are same. And third factor is the chemical factor. These are the factor of deterioration of manuscript. That means the manuscript will die out of three main factors. One is biological factor, the second is the chemical factor, and third is physical or environmental factor. These three factors will die, and other factors are also there, which are basically man-made factors. This is the slide actually. And other factors are the man-made factor. Man-made factor may be when somebody manufacture the paper, during that period of time, some incident may happen. So that is one. Or handling, during the handling of manuscript, the man-made factor may act on it. So it may destroy. Now natural calamities are there, but our point of today's discussion is basically I'll be talking about the biological factor here. And when you talk about the biological factor, then three things are there in the biological factor. One is microorganism. The second is the insect, and third is the rodents. Rodents, when you talk about rodents, is rat, mice, etc. So when you talk about microorganism, this microorganism are basically the fungus. Here, virus, then fungus, this thing. And virus does not attack on manuscript because it is a dead cell. Virus will act on the live cell. That is why virus doesn't come into existence as a microorganism. But fungus will come. The bhikkhu, fungus. The fungus will come, fungus act. Now why fungus come? Because the manuscript has what? The cellulose. Cellulose are what? Cellulose are the food particles. Here they will sustain and if you talk about the insect, any sort of insects, for manuscript or the cellulose is a food component for them. And if it is rodents, that is what? The food components. Because we look into as a manuscript, but the insect, microorganism, and the rodents look into as a food component. So we have to somewhere prevent this one. We have to prevent, so that they do not come to contact with their food content. So we have to prevent the food from them. And for us, if we can prevent the food, then we will sustain the manuscript. On biological. But if we talk about the chemical or physical factors mean the environmental factor, that is temperature, humidity, moisture, rain, water. These are the physical factors. When the manuscript comes into the physical factor, then prevention by the human is something irresistible. We cannot resist unless and until we create a microclimatic condition in the manuscript repository. So in the biological factor, we can prevent with some sort of measures if we take. But in chemical factors, we also have to take some measures. But this measure will be high costlier, little bit of costlier, so that we can create a microclimate into that. And when you talk about the chemical factors, that is which are available inside the manuscript and also outside the manuscript, which are available in the environment, and inherent chemistry that is there, as I said, the lignin, pectin, etc. with the cellulose, they itself create reactions with that. So when you call chemical factors, then these two, the inherent chemistry of the manuscript and the outside the chemistry in the environment, they react. So they react into it, and hydrolysis has been there. So for chemical factors and the environmental factors, it is a costly affair for us. People think many people think, and that if we provide neem leaves, if we provide some sort of plants origin, this thing over there, it will sustain. No, actually, if we think about the inner composition of the manuscript, how it basically reacts with the environment, reacts with the chemistry, then it becomes a little bit of different technology we have to adopt. So again, I will talk to that. So these are the basically biological factors. We've been talking about the biological factor. When you talk about chemical factor, that is acidity of its own, then the browning of the paper, reaction with the ink, and action of pigments inside the manuscripts basically. Then so far it is okay. It is we have understood that there are